Welcome back to Ignite Agility. A few years ago, I did a post on LinkedIn about the point of the daily scrum, and I used the popular clip from Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. You know the scene kind of at the end where Peter Quill's talking about having 12% of a plan and they're all standing in a circle? And then Rocket reluctantly stands and says, bunch of jackasses standing in a circle. Okay, now I'm standing. You happy? Oh, yeah. I went there to talk about the daily scrum. But before we get into what happened next, let's go ahead and hit that like and subscribe so you can get updates like this, because I'm going to update that darn post. It's been a couple of years since I wrote that, and it burned up so much online conversation that I thought it's about time to talk and clarify a few things about that post, but also to update it because the official Scrub Guide got updated in there November 2020. So let's dive right in. If me making fun of the daily scrum using that Guardians of the Galaxy clip rang a few bells, well, we might be falling into some dysfunction, or we may be falling into a big myth about the Scrum Master. What does a Scrum Master do every day? Some people think that the Scrum Master shows up and calls on people, tells people to stand, and conducts the daily scrum. That is a big myth. You heard me, a myth. According to our Scrum Guide, it's the developers who conduct the daily scrum. The Scrum Master isn't an adult daycare provider. They're not showing up and calling on everybody. That's not encouraging motivated individuals. That's not empowering people. So the Scrum Master really then needs to teach. The Scrum Master needs to teach the developers what's the point of the daily scrum. So Scrum Master should teach it as intended and then ensure that it takes place. Let's just say the Scrum Master's on vacation. Let's just say they would trust their team of developers to conduct the daily scrum without them. It wouldn't get canceled. And what do I mean by teach the daily scrum as intended? The daily scrum, if used as intended, is a transparency, inspection, and adaptation opportunity on the sprint goal. So every single day, like let's say that there's a 10-day sprint. Well, we wouldn't want to wait till the end of that sprint to find out that we aren't going to make our goal. Every single day at the daily scrum, we have an opportunity to give that level of transparency. Hey, towards our sprint goal, I'm not on track. Who can help me out? Inspection. Oh, you can talk to me about that? Awesome. Let's hang on the line right after. And adapt. So it's a transparency, inspection, and adaptation event all about our sprint goal, if used as intended. Let's bust another myth. Do we need to stand? No, absolutely not. Where the heck does that come from? My belief in that regard is that it's a throwback to extreme programming teams who were co-located in one room called a lab, short for laboratory, kind of clinical setting. They would simply stand at whatever workstation they were at to make a plan for the day, daily stand-up. In Scrum, it's not called that at all. It's called a daily scrum, and it's 15 minutes or less to give transparency into our sprint goal and make a plan with each other about what we need to do to get back on track for the sprint goal, or just a plan to do work with each other throughout the day. Now, over the years, some people have adopted standing, but we want to make sure we're not micromanaging developers. If we tell people, you have to stand, well, then we're disempowering them. We're not empowering them. If the developers do get value out of standing because they think it keeps it short and sweet, great, but that's entirely up to them. We don't want to take their decision-making power away by telling them they have to do something or that we're imposing some sort of standard or process on them. Why then is the daily scrum at the same time every day? to reduce complexity. We don't even need to think about it. We don't even need to think about where. It's in the same conference room, same space, or if we're virtual as a team, if we're a remote team, it's not the same bad channel, the same link every time, every day. So we don't even need to think about it. Reduces complexity. So how long is this daily scrum? It is intended to be 15 minutes or less. Now, some people say, but ours drags on and on. Well, there's a Scrum Master's opportunity to get it back on track by teaching it as intended. So if somebody is talking about the fact that they're not on track for the sprint goal, and as their teammate, I say, hey, I can help you with that. We don't interrupt what's going on and hold our colleagues hostage while we painstakingly talk through that issue right here. We make a plan. Hey, can you stay on the line for a few minutes after? Yeah, I totally can. Or maybe it's, can you stay on the line for a few minutes after? No, I can't. 1 o'clock works better for me. Can we get together then? So it's making that plan. Now you're not holding everybody hostage in some lengthy status while we talk through something. But let's say everybody can hang on the line and they're okay with that. But after we get through transparency, inspection, adaptation on the sprint goal, as long as it works for everybody to stay in the room or hang on the line and finish talking about those things, that's great if that's the time that works. But to drag each one out, I can see why some teams don't look forward to them if they think they're lengthy status meetings that they have to stay in when they could be getting something done. For example, if I can stay on the line and a teammate can help me out with my particular issue, if the other people on the team are available to stay and join in that conversation, they are more than welcome to. But if they say, I really got to go, I got something else going on, or I got to get this other thing done, they are free to go. So there's a lot of damage that we do when we misunderstand the intent about the 15-minute or less time box. It's just to give that level of transparency within the 15 minutes and then make a plan accordingly after the daily scrum. And here's the big one that's changed after I wrote that original post. Do the developers have to answer the suggested questions? Well, guess what? There are no suggested questions. That's right, gone, thankfully, because the suggested questions never were. What did I do yesterday? Here's what I'm going to do today. No blockers. That's not what it said. It said, since we last met, what did I contribute towards our sprint goal? What did I complete towards meeting our sprint goal? What am I going to focus on today towards meeting our sprint goal? Do I see any impediments that prevent me or the team from meeting our sprint goal? So it seems that people have been bound and determined over the years to just whack off the part about the sprint goal. So in an effort to save us from ourselves, they're gone. They're not in the guide at all. So what does the guide suggest? It notes that the developers can use any technique or structure that works for them as long as they're talking about the sprint goal. Now, if you're wondering, what the heck's a sprint goal? We have other things to talk about, or maybe that'll be a future episode or post from Collaborative Leadership Team. But think about what the Scrum Master has in terms of accountabilities or responsibilities here. It's not just showing up and calling on people, and we don't even need you to do that. Scrum Master, be the teacher, be the coach. Teach this daily Scrum as intended. Ensure that it's giving that level of transparency into the goal so that the product owner, the developers, the organization can adapt, they can pivot, they can be agile every single day and get more value out of the work that we're doing, and they can make a plan for the day with each other. Now, there's plenty more the Scrum Master does every day, but that, I think, warrants its own post or podcast in the future. So if you liked this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hopefully these tips help you get your daily Scrum back on track.